Hey my Squidlings, it's Katie here. Welcome back to another review and demo video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this paint on paper. It is like a multimedia paper. I've got two sizes here. I've got A5, which is basically like 5 by 8, and then this one, actually it's more like 6 by 8. This one is A4 size, and this is basically 8 by 11.5. So I've got two large-ish sizes here, and the small one has 40 sheets, the large one has 40 sheets as well, and they are by the Clairefontaine company. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's 250 grams, which equals 115 pounds. It says it right there, and it's acid free, which is really nice, and I'm just really excited to test it out. So it is a relatively thick paper. It's nice and white. And yeah, I'm just going to be testing a variety of media. I'm not going to be using the large one to test. However, I will probably do the illustration on the large paper, but we will see. So I'm going to be testing it with pen, pencil, wherever my eraser's at. I'm going to be testing erasing. Then I'm going to be testing some acrylic paints, gouache and watercolor paints in this, a dip pen, and then some ink. So we're going to be testing a lot of different things. And I hope it goes well. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to speed this up, but you never know. So first off, I'm going to start with my mechanical pencil, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little better. And, you know, just as to be expected, it's pretty nice with pencil. And then, how does it erase? We'll just go right down the middle. It erases relatively well. Of course, the harder you press, the more it's gonna leave behind some, but where I wasn't pressing very hard, you actually can't see it very much, so that's always nice. Whoops, dropping everything. Then we're gonna try some ink. Just gonna kinda do some random lines and stuff. Seems to be nice and crisp. Let's just go ahead and label it. Really happy with that. It shows up really nice and dark on here, and I like that. Next, we'll go ahead and do some watercolor. In this palette, I've actually got watercolor and gouache because I ended up taking all of the paint that was already in there and making my own palette, because that's what I do. We'll just go with this like orangey red color. And then we'll grab a little bit of this yellow. I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna do the gouache, and then I'm gonna come back and see if I can try to lift some of it up. So, next we're gonna do some gouache. And I actually like that pretty well as well. Of course, blending gouache is always a hassle, at least it is for me. Then we're going to do some acrylic. Next, we're gonna try some regular ink. I'm not gonna be very surprised if this does well, just because it is kind of like a paint, and all the other paints have seemed to do pretty well, so yeah. All of these so far aren't warping the paper, but of course I'm not saturating it, so I'm not getting a great test at the moment. However, when I do the full illustration, I'll probably cover this whole thing in ink somewhat, because I am going to be doing an ink illustration, so we'll kind of find out how it holds up then. Next up is the dip pen. My ink was a little thick, but I actually really like the dip pen on this too. It's not really scratchy, which is nice. I'll test it with this. And then, I didn't say this earlier, but I'm going to test a watercolor marker because I kind of want to see how this paper takes watercolor markers. And I'd say it's really well. I've had some papers not even let me blend this out because they absorb it too fast. But I really like this. However, it does pill up a bit, at least with the markers, if you work at it too long. That's kind of another thing I wanted to test. So, I don't know if you can see that, but there is some pilling, but I always have that happen more when I use markers. Real quick, I'm actually going to test the watercolors again and see how much effort it takes to get that pilling. Because I don't want to do a watercolor illustration on this or something and then, you know, be surprised at how much it pills. So I'm going to work this quite heavily. Alright, I can start to see some pilling. I don't know if you can see that. But I did kind of work heavily on it. So if you watercolor on this paper, I just recommend that you do like light washes and don't work at it too much because it won't pill at that point. But other than that, I think it's pretty nice. That was a decent first test. I am actually really excited to do an illustration on this. I've played with this paper quite a bit. The A5 size does not have quite 40 sheets in it anymore. I've been using it, but I do like it. And I want to do more with it because I like mixed media papers. They're always really fun. You know what I didn't test? And I feel like a dummy for not testing it. It's one of my most used supplies. Copics. So let's just grab some random Copics here. I'm gonna do two different kinds of blending, kind of like I always do. Light to dark, which will be what I test here. And then dark to light. Alright, there it is. It blends relatively well, but it does bleed through. You can see that I've kind of ruined my last piece under here, and I actually wasn't even really that heavy. So, if you use markers on this, just make sure you've got something underneath your paper, protecting whatever's underneath it. And yeah, now I think I can conclude my intro. I would use colored pencils on this, and I guess I still can. I've not got regular pencils on me, though. I've got my Prismacolor Cool Erase. I mean, they'll probably just work like any other pencil on here. So I would say colored pencils would be good with this, because it's toothy enough to where I think your colored pencils would stick. So, yeah. Anyway, this is a really long intro of testing, but I hope you enjoyed that, and we're going to go ahead and do an illustration. And I'm going to talk to you further about pros and cons and things that I learned while doing the illustration. And I do want to let you guys know, since it is Mermaid, I'm going to be drawing a mermaid. You're going to be seeing a lot of those. So before I go any further into the voiceover, I want to let you guys know that there is a link down in the description below to where you can check out this paper out on their website, as well as a link to where you can go purchase it. So, first off, I am starting with a wash of blue across the whole thing to kind of determine how much it will pill and warp and all that stuff, because I did really try to test the limits of this paper. I found that this is really great for any type of media, and you get a variety of sizes. They have any size from A5 to A2, and they also come in craft, which is like a tan color, and white. Now let's talk about the pros. The pros is it's a really nice paper. You get a lot of paper with it. A lot of mixed media pads that I've seen that work good. You don't get mini sheets. It's nice and sturdy. It handled a lot of layers of really thick ink, and it really didn't warp too much. I was pleasantly surprised. Now for some of the cons. It is relatively pricey. I found it on Amazon for an A5 pack, and it's like $22, which is kind of pricey, but if you think about it, you are getting what you pay for. The markers do bleed straight through with minimal effort, and pills with heavy layers of watercolor. So those are things just to keep in mind, and you know, like I said, those are the cons. As far as a rating is concerned, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. The only reason it's not getting anything higher is because it does pill a lot if you use some heavy watercolor layers, and it is kind of pricey. But otherwise, you know, it doesn't buckle much. It takes some good layers of media that don't require a lot of heavy water, and it's probably the best mixed media paper that I've used personally. And I just really like this paper. I think it's a solid paper, and I don't think that you would regret buying this if you like to do multiple like media techniques, or even if you like doing something like combining media like watercolors and colored pencils and Copics and stuff like that. I think this would be a really great paper, and yeah, I feel like you guys would really like it. Again, link will be in the description if you're interested in purchasing them or even just checking their website out. I do want a disclaimer that they were super nice and provided me with this for free for review, but you know, no sponsorship or anything, just my honest opinion and all that stuff. So, I believe the video is coming to a close. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to thumbs it up. Also, don't forget you can become a part of the cute little squid pod here by hitting that subscribe button and the little bell if you want to be notified of when I upload a new video. Don't forget you can follow me on my Artster, where I'm going to be posting these mermaid original pieces. So yeah, anyway, until next time guys, toodaloo!